everybody, and welcome to Marvel Chat University, your new favorite home for all things Marvel. My name is Drew, and I'm joined by Raul.
Hey guys, how y'all doing?
And we're back. We made it. We've been talking about WandaVision, but we're on the cusp of the finale of WandaVision, so we're going to save our thoughts and concerns about that whole situation until all the dust settles and we think everything is done. And we'll give you our recap on the finale, and then we may have a retrospective on the whole thing as a whole, going into Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But how we're going to kick things off today is, I got a tip. So, Raul doesn't know this. I'm about to talk about this just live out of nowhere in front of him. So my job is I work at a call center, and I talk to all kinds of people, and I talk to a guy who claims to be someone who works for Marvel. And he was a customer. He lived in California. I'm not going to say like who I work with and stuff, but it's a big company. And so I was doing customer service for the customer. And then we got to talking about that stuff. And I said, well, I just started a Marvel podcast and I'm really excited about everything. And he started picking my brain about what I think is about to happen here at the end of WandaVision. And then he tried to feed me shit, saying like, what about this? What do you think of this? Oh, no, it's not going to be like that. What do you think of this? So what he told me is he believes what is about to happen is the way that this ends is basically a reverse House of M, where mutants are introduced to the Marvel Universe through Wanda, through the Scarlet Witch. He also dropped this like nugget of the engineer, and that the whole engineer reference of who Rambeau's friend was not the fucking people that I mentioned that maybe Skrulls or whatever, but he was saying it could be Doctor Doom. So he was trying to drop that in there somehow for some reason. And then he also mentioned that the big reveal is Magneto.
So that was my it's super exciting while you're talking because that was my original theory. From the rumors, from everything that we've heard, I felt like the X-Men, the mutant world, was going to be introduced through Wanda while laying seeds for the Fantastic Four and that movie coming up. Like basically and by the way, this is super clever with what they're doing with WandaVision, is doing like an origin story of sorts while planting the seeds for the rest of Phase 4 leading into Phase 5. And I hope we get Magneto.
Right.
Honestly, I wouldn't even be upset if it was Fassbender's Magneto. Gosh, I'd be so happy.
When he mentioned that, I was like, okay, well, we just saw this whole, you all went to this trouble of showing this flashback. All right, cool. These are good drinks. This flashback of her family. So we saw her family, and it wasn't just a memory. And I liked the call out of the, remember the trick-or-treat memory of like, Wanda and Pietro trick-or-treating, and that was completely different actors than the flashback. And then the joke was like, well, that's not really them because it was like this like fourth wall breaking, like weird, because that was within the show. Yeah. They were like, well, that was within the show, and this is reality. I said, oh, okay. But, you know, we have this whole flashback, and we see her family and stuff. So if this somehow introduced Magneto, the whole point of introducing Magneto would be that he is her fucking dad.
Yes.
So then is the question like, okay, so is that her dad now? Like, what is this? You know what I mean? And that's I get a little skeptical.
Yeah.
When I think about that. But the other thing that I think about that makes me skeptical, and we're not going to go in on the WandaVision thing, is, but where does that put Pietro? Like, Pietro, there's been no backstory on how the hell he got his powers, right? So, like, the assumption is maybe he got it by being around her, but it's implied that she's a mutant or has powers of some sort, you know,
and
going
had
into
powers
before, and like
so, I love that piece of it, but what I think was really neat about this situation that we're in is Pietro. You know, we know him from another universe.
Sure, okay.
So,
yeah.
I wouldn't think it would
Peter
be
in the other universe. I mean, he's not he's not from Sokovia.
Yeah, no,
he's like from Ohio or something.
He's from a regular old town or whatever.
From the 80s, by the way. But, whatever. That's the whole, like, the Fox thing had all the decades.
What I dig about this is that Spider-Man and Strange are about to go into this multiverse, different realities, all this craziness that's gonna be super chaotic. I could easily see them bringing in Magneto, who's supposed to be her father, but it's not really her actual father because this is her version of her father from a different timeline, like a different universe.
Alternate reality. Yeah. She's a Nexus being.
Yes.
He's not. So he is her father in another reality.
Correct.
Is that where you're going with that?
Absolutely, since her father's already dead, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So I think you know how cool that would be, because she's getting a father. While it may not be the father she is invested, or she's not attached to this version. Yeah. She knows that it's her father in a different realm.
Now, this is great because, and I didn't even do it this way on purpose, but I wanted to drop that as this guy. He was being coy about it, but he went to the trouble of being like, that's interesting because I work for that company. And I was like, Disney? He was like, no. And I was like, Marvel? You work for Marvel? And he was like, yes. So when you work for Marvel, it doesn't mean you know all the answers, but maybe he knows where it's headed, or he suspects where it's headed due to whatever.
He might be working on different elements of and that are... he can't definitively say, but he's got enough clues.
You don't know at all what's going on.
If you think about it, all these people working on different aspects of whether it's a film or a movie, and they know a few things. Maybe they don't know the whole story in its completeness, but they're like, we know this person's coming.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
And I could totally see that, and I think that would be phenomenal, because I think Fassbender plays a kick-butt Magneto.
Sure.
And I love that guy, that actor. His Magneto is phenomenal. I love his young Magneto.
I got really, really high one time and watched the Assassin's Creed movie, and it is absolutely god-awful. But it's not his fault.
No.
Michael Fassbender's an amazing actor.
I was going to say, he carried that movie on his... those type of movies where an actor has to carry the movie on his shoulders.
So
you can't knock the guy.
Yeah.
It's like the movie altogether was falling apart, but his acting was incredible.
His conviction as that's one of the things about Magneto as a character that I think Ian McKellen just couldn't sell with what he had to work with, was this conviction of just like passion and rage and anger and stuff. Ian McKellen was more of like, you, Charles, you doting bitch. He's just super condescending, but he didn't have that, like, the love for his race, which I think that Michael would sell well.
Oh, yeah.
So the reason I bring this up, and the reason I think it's a good segue here into our overall conversation is, I think we were literally just saying this before we started this recording. I think the elephant in the room here is for this next, not just this phase, excuse me, but this next section of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, what would be the shark that you need to jump? What's the thing that you need to do for this section? And I think that's introducing mutants as a concept and the X-Men as a whole. And the X-Men meaning the whole universe. So all the good, all the bad, and I think it's a perfect time to do this. When the Marvel Cinematic Universe started, in the early the late 2000s, the 2000s will not age well.
No.
The 90s didn't age well. Nothing ages well. But, there's something, specific things about the 2000s, especially when it comes to pop culture, really aren't going to age well. A lot of my favorite music, not going to age well. Early Eminem albums, not aging well. And for more social conscious reasons. But we're in a pretty woke culture as it is right now. And one of the things about the X-Men, the thing about the X-Men, the thing is not in the X-Men. Don't look at me like that, Raul. He's in the Fantastic Four. No, but the thing about the X-Men is it is an allegory for persecution of homosexuals and minorities as a whole. And just any outcast. That's the whole point of being a mutant. Means you're special, means you're different, that people fear you and people persecute you. And that's the whole hang-up of the entire X-Men ethos. The entire universe is built around this. We're special, and I keep bumping this table, and I'm sorry, hopefully the mic's not picking up, which it shouldn't because it's suspended above the... Anyways, I think this is a perfect time to do this.
Absolutely.
If they do it right. And I think this would be cool for the X-Men introduction, even if it's the end of Phase 4 or like the end of Phase 5, if that's the clearly obvious thing that we're ramping towards, because the second Thanos was even fucking mentioned in the Infinity Saga at the beginning, everybody was like, oh shit, they're doing this. They're doing Infinity Wars. Now, did they do Infinity Wars? Not really.
No.
But they did it. You know what I mean? They did the Infinity Stones. They did the fucking face-off and everything. They did the snap. And you know what I mean? Like, they did it, but they did it their own way, which, again, I think Marvel is super clever about navigating this stuff on a business level. And it's, you know, scheduling.
There's so
and
much
everything.
content, right? If they really wanted to do it, like, more... They're doing it justice, but if they wanted to do a complete form or version of justice, it's really hard to do, and you couldn't really do it.
Well, what's cool...
You can't.
And what we have now, if you think of the have and have-nots that we have here with this new phase, this new era, post-Infinity Saga era, is what do we have now that we didn't have before? And that's Disney Plus.
Yes.
So now you can tell stories.
Yeah.
You can tell tales.
Start filling in more of those gaps that some of the diehards are missing, right?
Can you imagine Civil War, but actual Civil War, which had more to do with mutant registration than it had to do with the fucking Avengers?
I actually think that that's where we're headed. You know, because there's always this overlying, you know, the Avengers, while they're the ultimate good that helps us get out and away from this ultimate evil, it comes at a price.
Mm-hmm.
And now that these heroes are doing their own thing, we have we're gonna have the introduction of X-Men, of people with powers.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be a big issue for the government.
Yes, which that's been the big challenge. This is a perfect time to talk about. For me personally, I think the second I started realizing where this next era could go, what I wanted to see before I even read the whole story was Avengers versus X-Men. I knew that was a concept, and I knew it was something that would be really cool, and I think it would make sense to happen at some point, but I didn't know what the actual story was. Well, I just finished Avengers vs. X-Men, and I know what the whole story is, and I know now how it sets up, you know, House of X and stuff like that, more recent stories in the X-Men universe, which are a little more... They're definitely deep cuts. They're not super accessible, but Avengers vs. X-Men itself is very accessible, because it wraps entirely around the Phoenix Force. So what happens in the Avengers vs. X-Men is, leading into AVX, it's in the wake of two things. One, the Dark Phoenix saga, like a modern retelling of it, where Jean Grey is gone. She's dead. She sacrificed herself to like keep the Phoenix Force away. And two was House of M. This is post House of M, so the mutant population is like a few hundred people in the world. So the mutants are an extremely endangered species, and the X-Men are very much like the last of their kind. And Cyclops is keenly aware of this. And there is a main character in the show and in the story named Hope Summers. She is from the future. She is Cyclops and Jean Grey's daughter, and she is considered to be the mutant messiah. That's like the name that she was put on her. I think Cable brings her back at some point or something, and that's why she's like in present day, even though she's like a fucking 20-year-old or whatever, or 18-year-old. And her thing is she can absorb mutant powers and then use them back on themselves. So like if you're Apocalypse and I'm Hope Summers, you're super fucked, because I can absorb your power by touching you and then just use it right back on you. No problem. You know what I mean? So she's pretty deadly, but she's also a child. More so in the vein of, like, imagine if Jubilee was all of a sudden the most powerful mutant. So, like, she's really annoying because she's a teenager and she just flies off to the handle and stuff like that. But they're trying to, like, groom her, and Cyclops is trying to prepare her because it's foretold that she will receive the Phoenix Force and, like, rebirth the mutant population. So what's cool about this story, because I'm reading all this and I'm like, oh, okay, so more Phoenix stuff. That sucks. It gets interesting. Iron Man tries to stop the Phoenix Force and he accidentally divides it into 5 people. So Colossus, Ilyana, or Magic, as she's known, who has a connection to actual purgatory and hell for some reason. She can like open like gateways to hell and like let demons out. She's a fucking badass. It's weird. Emma Frost and Cyclops and Namor all get the Phoenix Force. So they all become instantly like the most powerful people in the universe. And as they die, that Phoenix Force goes into the remaining. So by the end, well, they didn't get defeated. Let me just put it that way. So they never died. Nobody in this comic died, I'm pretty sure, which was weird because I was like, man, Spider-Man's gonna. Nope, he didn't die. But at the end, Cyclops is the Phoenix Force, and he has gone absolutely fucking batshit crazy and kills Professor Xavier. Yeah, like straight up fucking murks him dead. At the very, very end, one of the last things is Wolverine saying, "I gotta go give a eulogy." You know what I mean? So the Cap is the good side of this. So it's like a kind of a Civil War II type situation where Cap is like, "Listen, Scott, you're fucking crazy," because Scott is just trying to protect his race. The whole point of it is mutant kind. I think there's a lot here that could be used.
So, talking about the mutant.
Oh, sorry. One last thing.
Yeah.
Before you say what you're going to say, because this will change your perspective. By the end of the story, the key thing, the key element that is figured out here is the Phoenix Force is the yin to the Chaos Magic's yang. And Wanda, in saying no more mutants, attracted the Phoenix Force. Wanda's the only person, when the Phoenix Force shows up, she's the only person that can affect anybody. So she's the fucking ace in the hole. Okay. And at the end, her and Hope have to have a little kumbaya moment, and then they were they released the Phoenix Force back in the universe or whatever. But she's a key player, and I think that's interesting too.
I think that they're taking that element that Wanda is the key player to introducing the mutants, and again, without going super deep into this last episode, but we now are aware that people having mutant abilities was already a thing.
Clearly, yeah.
So
yeah,
they hinted at it.
None of it's all manufactured.
No, and in Civil War, no, sorry, not in Civil War. In one of the Infinity War, out of those two movies between Infinity Wars and Endgame, where they're talking about the shifts in the tectonic plates under Wakanda, right? They allude to Namor, to Namor.
Which Namor and T'Challa have beef.
Yes,
in the comics they go way back.
It's starting to set up that it's planting the seed at least.
Yeah, and he's a dick in this comic too. Yeah, he's the first one to get really murdery, and everybody's like, we got to put him down, and they put him down, and then that's how they learn. Oh, the Phoenix Force goes to everyone else, and then Colossus and Magic go nuts and stuff. And Spider-Man almost dies. I thought he was going to die, and I'm actually kind of bummed he didn't.
So with the knowledge that we have, we know that mutants have been around. Maybe with the snap, they're going to maybe say that maybe more people, they were able to create more mutants because of that snap. Sure. I don't know how they're going to introduce that piece of it.
She had her abilities, right?
But then, amplified,
correct. But then the catalyst was, and so maybe the snap is that thing.
The stone amplifying everybody else's powers.
Brings everybody
and that'll be interesting because it's going to also give us layers of people who probably, who have these mutant abilities and maybe were tapped into it more, unlike Wanda, which were more hidden,
Yeah.
So that'll be really cool to see. But, as we're looking at Phase 4, right, we have the TV show Falcon and Winter Soldier, and then we have the movie Black Widow, and then Loki, Shang-Chi, the What If series, the Hawkeye series, Miss Marvel, Eternal, Spider-Man 3, Doctor Strange. How do we weave into this fabric the mutant world, right?
So Miss Marvel, which is going to be... so Carol Danvers was Miss Marvel before she became Captain Marvel. There were 3 or 4 Captain Marvels before her. She was the first woman. No, I think Monica Rambeau was technically the first woman Captain Marvel. But that's interesting, right? But this is Kamala Harris. No, I'm just kidding. It's Kamala Khan. Kamala Khan. And I'm pretty sure she's a mutant. I don't know about her whole backstory, but I know that her thing is she can stretch. And she's like Mr. Fantastic, sort of, but with Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel-esque powers. I think she can fly. I don't remember totally, but I'm pretty sure she's a fucking mutant.
Yeah, what's interesting is again when we were recalling on the previous episode, in Civil War, when they just started introducing brand new characters, and it was just totally accepted and easy to digest in the movie, and they just accept it as a truth. I could easily see them doing this with mutants. They start to introduce key characters, and they're just like, yeah, he was around, he had the powers, and now because of this Infinity Stone snap, the stone amplified his powers, and now he's worried and he's looking for help.
Sure.
And people come in that way, but then they kind of, on the back burner, they're like, okay, there are mutants, and we need to start identifying these people, even for our own sake, to know who can help in times of crisis. But then at the same time, the government has that worry that we need to just register all these folks in general because we need to know who they are. And so I can see how that can easily be woven into the fabric of these movies as like a smaller plot going on in the background while it's leading up to like a bigger movie. And once we get the introduction of the Fantastic Four and Doctor Strange, those will start to elaborate even more on that mutant world. But I really feel like the mutants having their own movies and really playing these really key roles is going to happen in Phase 5.
You know what would be cool is if they drip feed us mutants by, let's say we're watching Hawkeye and like a mutant is one of their targets or something like that in the training.
I like that.
Or like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, maybe somebody in the back, maybe you have like a, Charles Xavier, a cameo of like him on the news or something, like just advocating for
mutant rights.
People who are different now.
Accepting differences.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. And just
very cleverly, absolutely.
Because so what I'm thinking about is how, and I mentioned Hawkeye and Falcon and the Winter Soldier specifically because they're Disney Plus series, so there's a little more room for exposition and breathing of like world building in a series than there is in a movie. Because if you think about how many hours are in WandaVision, granted the show not long enough at all, so maybe 4 or 5 hours, but that's way longer than the longest. It's slightly longer than the longest Marvel movie, and it's definitely longer than the average Marvel movie. So when you think about the world building that would come from something like Thor and Doctor Strange, that's obviously grand scale world building. But when we're talking about here on Earth and what's going on in the main Marvel Cinematic Universe of, post-snap, post-Sokovia Accords, post-Civil War, post-Avengers in a way, because we see already how Captain America is somehow going to be some type of puppet for the U.S. government, which makes sense after everything. But this is the stuff that we need to be watching for in these series in the next couple of years, is how are they going to be introducing how that plays for the world, like for the world that they're in this cinematic universe. Because it's easy for us to point to a isolated comic story like me pointing to AVX and being like, well, honestly, AVX was it was a crossover because it's like, dude, why wouldn't we do this?
Absolutely.
And honestly, Civil War was an AVX of its own, but not so obvious. This was literally Avengers Assemble were fighting the fucking X-Men and mutants defending themselves because they thought they were following Scott. And eventually it becomes everyone versus Scott Summers at the end. So at some point you have like Storm coming to T'Challa and be like, dude, I'm sorry, because Wakanda gets fucking like sunk into the ocean. And she's like, I'm sorry, I love you, and we should have figured this out before. And he's like, nah, bitch, we're divorced.
I hate that we're not going to be able to explore that
like,
too,
what?
by the way.
And he's like, no, we're divorced now.
Even with the tragic death of Chadwick Boseman, and if you do know a little bit about the comics, there's definitely this beautiful love story between Storm and T'Challa.
Yeah.
But with him gone, I still feel like we can see that in one of these like multi-dimension type of things.
Of course. Yeah. No, for sure.
And what's also really crazy is they have this huge at Marvel they have this huge power that they have all this footage from different universes that they can bring at any time, and they're so clever they can force feed it to us in a way where it's like we talked about with Civil War. We will just accept it, we will digest it, and we will know it as our new truth.
Yeah.
And so they have a lot of really neat stuff they can pull from already while building out this the way they're going to roll, or the way we theorize or suppose they're going to roll out this new mutant world. And they could easily bring back these other mutants from different canons or universes, introduce them into our world, and that's it. While introducing new characters, for example, we know that Hugh Jackman's not going to come back as Wolverine.
Yeah,
they're going to recast him.
But X-23, I mean, she was a kid. She could be, she could be a character.
Absolutely,
that actress.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been long enough. She's a teenager. she's probably on her way into like her late teens.
And that would be really exciting for me because we're taking elements from the past, mixing it with the new, and creating a new canon.
And honestly, to be real with you, that is my favorite thing. And I mean, that's the magic trick that Disney did here and Marvel Studios did here, of making this one cohesive thing. And they tried a few different things. I've been watching this YouTube channel called Mr. Sunday Movies, and they have this series called Caravan of Garbage. Everything I'm saying here is just a bunch of like made up words, right? But no, it's two, I believe they're Australian guys, and they just rip on stuff. And they went back and watched the season of Inhumans, Marvel's Inhumans, and it is just the fucking worst show. And it's so bad. It looks so bad. It's got good cast. So you've never seen Game of Thrones. I know everyone boo this man right now, but you've never seen Game of Thrones. But Ramsay Bolton from Game of Thrones, who's the bastard of Roose Bolton, who's kind of a big character if you've seen Game of Thrones, is in it, and it's so stupid. It's just such a fucking stupid show. But like, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was a cool setup. I haven't watched Agent Carter yet because I've been waiting for the right time, and now that we have this show, I think this is a perfect time for me to rewatch it. Well, watch it for the first time, but go back and watch it because Agent Carter is such an important character in the foundation of the universe that we're in here with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But my point is, all of these shows technically are supposed to exist within this cinematic universe. And what's interesting about the Inhumans was that was going to be their, like, well, since we can't have mutants, we'll use the Inhumans universe to introduce quote-unquote Inhumans. And then you'll see in Age of Ultron, because they can't use the word mutants, Cap calls Quicksilver enhanced. So, like, they've been dancing around this for a while.
Absolutely.
But the beauty here is if you look at, like, Daredevil and Spider-Man and the Punisher and the Fantastic Four, these pre-Iron Man superhero movies, it was all self-contained. Blade and Green Lantern and even the Superman movies at the time were all their own thing. Didn't even dream of, crossing over. They would have little hints. You'd see a Lex Luthor reference in Batman, or you'd see a Wayne Corp thing.
Little teases here and there.
But it was just a tease. Yeah. It was just a neat little Easter egg. It wasn't actually supposed to be like, no, this is happening. No, now everything means something. Everything. Yes.
That's what sucks. We're conditioned to all these little teases when we know that's not going to go anywhere. And we're always like, oh, what
if?
Now
it's the other way around.
And now we're like, dang it.
Now when you see Adam Warlock, I'm going to keep it. When you see Adam Warlock in
he's
Guardians of the Galaxy, you're like, what the fuck? So Adam Warlock is really important because during the Infinity Saga, that was really important that they dropped that, and then they never did anything with it. God damn it!
And that's gold because it's coming.
He was the only person that could use the Infinity Gauntlet after Thanos did the snap, and he could wield the Infinity Gauntlet to snap everyone back. That's what he did in the original Infinity Gauntlet story. So he's a really important character. In fact, he became so important and so godlike with that power that the either the Eternals or the Celestials, I can't remember what characters they were, but they basically the uber mecha, too powerful to even comprehend characters, pulled Adam out of his reality and was like, you can't have this power. Thank you for undoing what Thanos did, but we're going to take this and you're going to go back to being...
You did your one big power move, no more for you, sir.
Which is such a comic,
absolutely.
Control-delete button of them being like, well, how do we painted ourselves into a corner here? What do we do? Let's just have these super fucking ultra beings. Characters just be like, no, never mind. You know what I mean? So, but I mean... That matters. He exists. That character, even if that character never sees the light of day, he exists in this universe. Blade exists in this universe. None of this is like standalone stuff. Like when they announced Blade, in my head, by default, I was like, oh, they're going to have a Blade movie. That's cool. And at no point was I like, wait, how does that factor into everything? And now you have to think about that. And I think that's so fucking cool. And that's something that I think that now that we have these Disney Plus shows coming, it would be easy for the average viewer to just fall back into, all right, well, I'm going to watch this Hawkeye show, whatever. But as a nerd like me, reading into every frame of everything, the Hawkeye show, we're just going to be like, wait, what? So what? How? Where did we? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, who's next? Like, what's coming next? And for them to already with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the looming thing of like, okay, we're in a post Captain America world here with his friend, and his friend has the fucking shield.
You know what's gonna be beautiful
But
about
then-
that show too is that they're gonna the presence of the big bad government coming in.
Well,
And-
which we got to assume is Sword, right?
Yes.
Because Shield is gone, right?
Yes.
So we must assume that Sword is somehow the entity, right, that brings out. What fucking already?
Well,
forgot
it-
his fucking
it's gonna
name.
create the big-
the second coming
Yeah.
of Captain America, whatever.
And it's going to give us the big overlapping other barrier and problem and obstacle these guys are going to have to deal with, which is they're trying to contain and control the superheroes, the people who are enhanced, the people who have a little extra. They're going to try to be containing these folks, and that's going to create its own slew of obstacles leading into
Yeah, we're in
the
a
rest
we're
of
in a Cold
the
War now.
Marvel
So
Cinematic Universe.
after World War II, this is real life. After World War II, the world, humanity, after we've defeated the big bad as a whole, right? We quickly fell into a Mexican standoff. No offense, Rawls Mexican. I'm sorry, just kidding. Anyways, we kind of fell into this Mexican standoff of this Cold War, right? Of everyone trying to come up with, oh shit, okay, well, America just fucking played that hand, so now we all have to look at what we have. So Thanos happened, and so the rest of the world is now like, what the fuck? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so everyone has their own, and that's what we're seeing with the dude from Sword and WandaVision. But now, what I was going to say was, I'm already so excited for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which is going to be a nice change of pace after
Yes.
WandaVision.
It's
but-
making it more. It's going to make it more real.
But they have Baron Mordo.
Yes.
Like, they didn't just pull some, or not. Yes. Wait. Zemo. No. Yes. Fuck.
Now you lost me. You're going all over the place.
Zemo. Baron Zemo. I mixed up. Why do they have more than one Baron? Anyways. Zemo. The fucking bad guy from fucking Civil War. Is the
Yes.
bad guy in the, at least this is probably like the first episode. whatever.
Absolutely.
But as far as we know, he's the big bad
Mhm.
in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And that's no just two-bit guy that they throw. That's no crossbones that they throw down to just sacrifice at the beginning. Like, he's a big character that we've already seen. And so I think it's cool to know that going into these shows, the stakes are still high.
Yes.
And it's not just filler. Now, even What If could be perceived as filler. Shang-Chi could be perceived as filler for the average viewer, but they're going to have big implications.
Absolutely.
So, that brings me back to Avengers vs. X-Men, believe it or not. You have 5 phoenixes on the fucking planet. How do you run from them? What are you going to do? The mystical city of Kunlun, whatever. Iron Fist is not a piece of shit in this, somehow, in the comics. And he shows up, and he's like, guys, come with me. And they go through a portal to Kunlun, and the dragon's there. And the dragon, and I guess it's a reincarnation of whatever that, I can't remember his fucking name because it's really dumb. But the dragon is there, but it's like a young version of it. So he gets put out like really fast by Cyclops. But they're there so that they can train Hope Summers in like Kung Fu and stuff. And she learns the Iron Fist. That's how she can like fight, basically.
Okay.
She literally uses the Iron Fist with her powers, which are, you know, whatever powers the fuck she wants, because she can absorb Phoenix Force, she can absorb Chaos Magic, whatever, and so she uses the Iron Fist. But, so Shang-Chi is supposed to introduce the actual Mandarin,
Yes.
the real Mandarin. So this stuff, it's so fucking cool, because this stuff plays back to the beginning of this Marvel Cinematic Universe, but it also is perfect gateways for them to introduce whatever the fuck they want.
And what's going to be really funny is that when they do introduce, once we get to that point in the timeline, and they start introducing the Iron Fist, the Luke Cage, you know, all these different characters that we've already seen in some capacity,
Sure. Yeah.
they can do this little funny trick of maybe pulling a
It's an
character for
alternate
fun,
reality version
yeah.
of it. Yeah.
And just poke these little teases, which they do it so well and it's so beautifully crafted that it feeds our palates, and we love it, we accept it. But yes, the fact that we have these TV shows that are accomplishing a whole lot while teasing and adding a lot of hidden stuff in every episode, man,
I've said it before that one of the biggest things that draws me to all of this and gets my like inner nerdy fucking analytical, borderline like damn near autistic level of like, oh my god, what is that? Let me dig super hard into these details. Is their attention to detail of these shows? Nothing here is done on accident. Nothing here is done. So we just landed a rover on Mars, and there was a hidden this is in real life, guys. I'm not talking about. So we just landed a rover on Mars, and the parachute for the rover on Mars had a hidden fucking
binary code.
Yeah, a message in it of Dare to Dream or something like that. They put a message on the fucking parachute because they knew that people were going to see it because they had a camera pointing at it. None of this is done on accident.
No. And
it's so cool. And what's really funny is I find this so amazing because nothing here hurts anyone. Meanwhile, you've got people thinking that there's going to be a new inauguration tomorrow. By the way, I don't know if you knew this or not. QAnon thinks there's going to be a real inauguration tomorrow, and our former pumpkin in chief is going to all of a sudden become back. Yeah, dude.
Thanos is coming back?
People believe that.
Oh, man.
People legitimately believe that Trump's going to come back tomorrow. I'm talking about like actual tomorrow.
That's scary.
And yeah, weird, right? Fucking crazy. Meanwhile, this stuff really does... it all ties together, and it's so masterfully done, and it's so impressive that they have done what they've done so far in the cinematic universe, and then still have all this runway ahead of them to just do whatever the fuck they want. Like, we didn't even talk about Fantastic Four. The Caravan of Garbage guys that I was watching on YouTube just did I just went back and rewatched their the original 2 Fantastic Four movies, and then the Fan Four Stick movie and stuff. And it's so much missed opportunity that, honestly, if it weren't for these terrible movies that you and I grew up watching, I don't know if we would even be as excited now as we are now. Because I think we had so many bad experiences that, like, personally, and this is including the Netflix series, I hate Elektra, the character. I fucking hate her. She's terrible in the show. She's terribly used in the Defenders. She's always just some kind of dumb foil of like, she's just the fucking worst. And then that movie was so bad. Her character in Daredevil was terrible. Like, I hate Elektra. What if all of a sudden the Marvel Cinematic Universe does right by Daredevil? Which, by the way, fucking, here's something I'll throw out here at the end. Now that I'm like tipsy, not quite drunk yet, believe it or not. But I'm close and I'm having fun. What if I all of a sudden love Elektra because Matt Murdock and the dude that plays Matt Murdock from the Netflix series is like confirmed to be in the next Spider-Man movie as Daredevil. Somehow. He's probably going to be a lawyer. He's probably going to be reaching out to Peter Parker. Maybe it's a throwaway line of him calling him and being like, hey man, I heard that you're Spider-Man. If you need some help or something, I'm here. Let me know. Bye, I love you.
That
and then
tease introduction.
And then that's it.
Yeah.
That's all it is, right?
No, and it's the Spider-Man. It's its own like cluster.
Michael Keaton,
yeah.
Vulture.
And you know what's really cool about Spider-Man too is that Spider-Man has to deal with.
Jamie Foxx is going to be in it.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
And what's really neat about Spider-Man is that he's dealing with foes that are self-created, right? They're just like, again, enhanced people that, due to freak accidents or something that they're doing, they're now these huge foes. Which the level of creativity is really, really... That's what I really like about Spider-Man is that it's regular people.
But it's always such a personal thing.
Yes.
That's what's so cool.
It's very relatable because we're dealing with humans who stumble upon a few things that make them...
Well, Spider-Man was Stan Lee's baby.
Yeah.
Like, Stan Lee had such a soft spot for Spider-Man, and I think that's part of why those characters were always written so well.
Yes.
And so, like, the stakes maybe not were always as high as, like, a Superman or an Iron Man comic or something like that. But for Spider-Man, because he was a kid and he was supposed to be your friendly neighborhood, the guy that, like, your neighbor is this crazy kid, like your best friend turns out to have these powers. Like that was the idea.
He's
right?
one of my favorite.
He's your buddy.
Because he's a kid.
And so his bad guys are your neighborhood bad guys. Like people that you know, oh, fuck that guy. Like I fucking knew it. That guy's a fucking bad. The Prowler.
Like the grumpy guy at the end of the street ends up being, so crazy, right?
He's the Rhino.
Yeah, and they were able to capture that in the Spider-Man movies so far of painting that picture of like, it's all very relatable. It's like the guy down the street, and it's beautiful. Now, what did you think of the trailer?
The announcement?
Yes. Oh yeah,
so,
really like trailer, but teaser trailer
too. So the teaser trailer. So they just had a teaser trailer with Zendaya and others. No, but Peter, his friend, and it was the actors.
Yes,
that's the best part. Is the trailer wasn't even in
just
the universe. It was them coming out of the office of Marvel, going like, man, they won't tell us the fucking name of this movie. And they walk by a thing on the wall that says No Way Home. So it's confirmed that it's Spider-Man No Way Home, which means he can't go home because it was just revealed that he's fucking Peter Parker.
And by the way, it was beautifully crafted where they're walking by and it's a hallway and there's this whiteboard and it says Spider-Man No Way Home. There's a bunch of scribbles everywhere, all these ideas, all this crazy stuff going on.
We've already done this.
But what's kind of crazy, all the hexagons.
Did you see those hexagons?
Oh, man. I was the first thing that popped up out of me and I'm like, how does that play into it?
You know what's interesting to you is I mentioned this in our first episode is the hexagon logo for AIM is known. It is known, which is also a reference to Game of Thrones, and I can't believe you. But when I say it is known, it's from Game of Thrones.
Because of Resident Evil.
You need to fucking watch Resident. No, fuck that. You need to watch. So, AIM in. Pretty sure in the comics at some point Norman Osborn is involved with AIM, if I remember correctly. At the end of Civil War, he like becomes the head of AIM, and AIM like supplants.
Well, isn't Oscorp buying Tony Stark's old building, right?
So
in the last, yes, because in the movie,
I believe so. I believe so.
That's what was building up to that, also, right? Oscorp, right there.
And so there's a lot of hexagonal situations going on here. One of the things that I like to think about is one of the videos that I watched recently. I think it's Screen Crush. It's this guy. I don't know his name, but it's just like that's his channel on YouTube, and he points out that in Guardians of the Galaxy, when they're traveling through universes, they do this thing in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 where they're going to jump through light speed, and so the way they do that is they like go through like portals.
Tunnels, right? The different tunnels that connect.
But the way the universe is stitched together, it is revealed, is by hexagon. Like, that is the fabric of the universe. So if I was going to punch a hole in time or whatever from point A to point B, that hole would be in the shape of a hexagon.
Makes sense.
And so that is like, that it's the belief in this guy's kind of pointing this out was like, there's your sign. That is... The hexagon is a reference to going through space and time, which is your gateway to another reality, right? And so I wonder if, and the other rumor is like, okay, well, Strange may be the father figure here. So maybe to get him in the clear, he literally just takes him out of this reality to another reality. Just for funsies. And you're like, what?
Because he's like this Mr. Strange.
This is after... Yeah, Mr. Strange. Oh, we're using our fake names. Like, okay. But... So this is after Multiverse of Madness. So Strange has probably learned something at this point, by the time we get to Spider-Man 3, that he is using to protect Peter. That's my theory there.
I love that. Yeah, because he is being set up to be the new Tony Stark, the guy who's looking over this young kid.
Yeah, he's got the facial hair for
absolutely. And I do see Doctor Strange becoming a very important key player because he's going to have the ultimate knowledge at the end of the day. Yeah. And he's going to be trying to do everything to shoot out to a positive outcome. There's no guarantee.
When we talk about the multiverse,
guide us in that way.
He's definitely the expert in the room. You know what I mean? So
ultra powerful too.
And Endgame did a great job. Infinity War and Endgame did a great job of using him, and then sidelining him, but then still he was like the reason that we won, right?
Yes.
Like he's the reason that everything went the way we did because
the one outcome.
He put the fucking time stone in Thanos' hand on purpose because he knew that it could turn out a certain type of way. And so his power is definitely not muted or disputed here. And so I think that he's definitely a key factor. I don't...
And I think that's part of that's the bigger arc with him, right? Is his ego. He's brilliant surgeon. Now, in the
zero humility.
Zero.
When he before,
he was a sorcerer, right? But I still think
I'd never heard Kendrick Lamar's humble. Never heard it.
I feel like to build onto his arc, he's going to have to break down those last barriers of. Because if you think about it, it would be very easy for him to slip back into.
He's a little cocky in Infinity War.
And he can easily slip back into that because he's a phenomenal surgeon who visits this person to get the power in his hands back. He becomes this ultimate sorcerer, this wizard. Now that Endgame is done, he was the sole reason that he's
Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah, and
he is the Sorcerer Supreme,
and he's the reason that they're all still alive. And
how much time do we have?
It's getting close to wrap up.
Okay, question for you. This is something I've been wanting to ask anybody, everywhere. So since we've been talking about Strange, question for you. Right now, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, is Strange in possession of an Infinity Stone? Right now. If the stones were returned to where they were supposed to be before the stone heist, the fucking person who had the time stone was Doctor fucking Strange.
Yes, he's got it.
He has to have it.
Yes, he has it. Absolutely he does.
He has to have it. Now, I'm not going to go into... Granted, because, it was in the gauntlet and the gauntlet was all fucked up. I'm not going to go into the whole Doctor Strange could have absolutely saved Tony Stark's life right there when everybody was standing there watching him die. But I get that. I get that he had to die. So it's whatever. And especially with Strange, you could argue that Strange knew that Tony had to die for whatever reason, so he wouldn't undo that. Just that apple.
He couldn't give him the knowledge that he was going to have to die in order to save.
The apple that he ate and then unate and then ate again or whatever, that's... Nobody cares about that. But Tony had to die, and he understood that for whatever reason. And maybe it has to do with Peter Parker. But Doctor Strange has a fucking Infinity Stone.
Absolutely.
How crazy is that? Knowing what we know now. You know what I mean? And then for me to think about that and think about, okay, so the ether is out there doing ether shit, which is, and
another crazy thing, to a certain extent, Strange is, you can't really put a leash on that guy.
No, he'll just hop into the mirror dimension.
You can with the others, and we've seen it.
Yeah.
With him, he knows he's the guardian of Earth.
So, when we talk about the X-Men in the future, there's a character, to me, Strange, I think, coming in at the end and then having a pretty big factor to play in the Infinity Wars.
Before you continue, let me ask you a question. So, let's guess what's going to happen at the finale. I'll let you give me your take on what's going to happen at the finale.
Okay, sure.
I'll give my take, and then we'll end it, and then we'll continue.
How's this going to end?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the thing. The guy kept asking me, he was like, who's the guy? Who's the cameo? What is going to happen? And I was like, I don't know. What are you trying to, he was trying to trick me. He was like, think about it. And I was like, well, I don't think it's Strange, because I think Strange showing up makes sense.
It's the obvious choice.
So the cameo, the person that Paul Bettany has wanted to work with his whole life, and he's admired his whole life, he's a wonderful actor, is Paul Bettany. Because we're going to have White Vision versus Vision.
Okay.
That's what it is. It's like, if you go back and listen to that quote now after seeing the previous episode of them revealing White Vision, it's kind of like he's chuckling. That's what it is. It's Paul Bettany. So we're going to have a Vision versus White Vision. So Vision's going to win. And then Vision is somehow going to be able to survive WandaVision. After watching this last episode and seeing her create him, I'm like, okay, so he's like a real deal thing. I think he will survive, and I think he'll persist. My personal question about Vision specifically is the exact same question. Does Vision have a fucking Infinity Stone in his forehead after this? Because that's kind of a big deal. And you can't downplay that. And I honestly don't know enough about the comics as to whether or not Vision just walks around with an Infinity Stone in his forehead normally, or if that's just part of his design, and they wrote that into the script there. In this show, and we talked about this before, whenever you see Vision as Vision in the show, it doesn't look the same. It's like a muted orange or whatever. It's not the Infinity Stone. You can see it. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. But I think Strange has to show up because of the proximity. Dude, they're in New Jersey. They could be anywhere in the world, and they're in New Jersey. They're right outside of New York, which is where Strange is fucking located.
Quick question. In WandaVision, when he's chewing the gum, does he get it out of himself, or does Wanda have to, like...
She takes it out of him.
Okay.
She, like, reaches inside of him and takes it out.
So I don't think he has the Infinity Stone in his head. I think it is a gem that's for decoration.
Sure.
But my theory is he's going to exist, and now we have White Vision, who could be Anti-Vision, who might even go off and do his own thing in the future and create the West Coast Avengers, like in the comics.
White Vision is described as more Ultron than Vision.
Yes.
So maybe.
More Android. I see him being like a government weapon, and I feel like he's going to get his own, he's going to find his own path through who knows what.
So you think they'll coexist? You don't think he's going to be destroyed by the end of this?
No.
Really?
Yeah, I think he's going to do his own thing.
So what?
Because in the comics, he does his own thing.
Do you think Sword's just going to be like, all right, bye?
So I see White Vision disappearing for a long time, and then him being introduced in later phases.
Okay.
And he's going to build a team of Avengers that are going to be mutants, West Coast Avengers, which are mutants, and which could feed beautifully into this because the West Coast Avengers were mutants. That's all they were. So I'll leave that.
Fair enough.
But Vision will exist in whatever capacity he will exist in. I see a Doctor Strange cameo. I do see a big X-Men character coming, whether that's Professor X or Magneto, but I think it's one of the two.
Yeah. I think X would be, well... What do you think about Monica Rambeau? Do you think she's going to go full-on Spectrum, like fucking fly around Captain Marvel style
I think
next episode?
I think she's going to have some sort of implosion within herself, like tapping in her powers and using it in some huge level event. But with that, we need either Professor X or Magneto to come in and control the situation. When Strange is there trying to do his thing, but he's kind of lost with what's going on. And then we have the experts come in, which is either Magneto or Xavier, and saying, okay, let's come down.
We asked this on the Facebook page because of some conversations with Kevin Feige. Check out our Facebook page, by the way. Please go look at it and like it and follow it, and I love you.
And which, by the way, that Facebook page has links to where our podcasts are being hosted, which is in Podbean, and it has a link to our YouTube channel as well. So we have a YouTube channel. We do have a website under podbean.com, which is going to be, the links are all on the Facebook page, but Marvel Chat University, that's the handle as well. So it's easy to pull up through Facebook, which will lead you into everything else.
So is there a season 2 of this show?
No. I think it's over. I think it did it justice. It gives us an origin story of Wanda leading up to this huge grand finale, which it needs to be pretty grand for everything that we've heard so far.
Yeah.
Leading into Winter and the next Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which is going to be great as well. But I don't see another season.
So this clearly leads into Doctor Strange, which is like known. It is known. But do you think this leads into Falcon somehow? Do you think that we'll see kind of some type of thread going from this, like timeline-wise? Do you think that this takes into?
I think the only thing it's going to feed into for this next series coming up is going to be at the very end with its connection to White Vision because it's a government weapon.
And you think Sword maybe somehow
that's now a big deal for the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, knowing that this huge sentient weapon is out there that's White Vision.
I would love, because I feel like we would have known this by now, but I would love if Monica, Darcy, or Jimmy Woo somehow made it into Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I would really, 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 really love that. The internet loves the three of them together. I think that they are definitely some of the best glue that holds all this together, character-wise. And I would really, really love to see more of those characters because of their ability to bring everything down to the reality level and like the human level and stitch everything together. And Falcon and the Winter Soldier could use that. You know what I mean?
But at the same time, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier could take place during a whole different...
You're absolutely right.
And what sucks about this is what I have a feeling is going to happen is we're going to get done with this and then we're not going to touch on this again until the movie. And that movie's not coming out until next year. Oof.
Yeah.
So that's what really sucks about it. So like we're going to go this whole year and they're going to drop another series that's going to keep us hanging for all this other content that we're going to talk about. Yeah. And it builds that anticipation. It builds the need and the want to go watch these films. But it sucks as a fan.
I think that's the challenge here in Phase 4, with especially with the reshuffle due to the pandemic, where we're going to be experiencing a lot of different things like the Black Widow movie and the Eternals, where everything's going to feel a little disjointed. And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier. And you and I have talked about this multiple times, where the through line of the Infinity Saga that pulled all those movies together in Phase 1, 2, and 3 was pretty fucking obvious and in your face, and we don't see it yet. Now, we're pretty early here, but we know what movies are coming out. I mean, man, in 2010, we didn't know what the fuck was coming out, after Avengers. We thought maybe that was it. Like, Avengers was going to come out, and then they were just going to pack up and go home and be happy that everything didn't fall apart. But no, it was the complete opposite. Everything ramped up, and it felt disjointed when I see something like Avengers: Age of Ultron, and then Guardians of the Galaxy, and then Ant-Man, and Ant-Man after Civil War, and you're like, or after Age of Ultron, you're like, who gives a shit about this? And then you realize how important that character is going forward, and you're like, oh fuck, what the shit? You know what I mean? Like right now, knowing that we don't have an Avengers team-up movie, we don't have this narrative of the Infinity Saga pulling us through. Not knowing is exciting, but it's also terrifying because I'm really kind of nervous for a Shang-Chi, Hawkeye,
Loki,
and like how the fuck does this all pull together? And I said this terrible joke, and I get to say it now, recorded forever. I think Loki, low-key, is going to be like the really important factor here. That's a terrible joke, but no, real talk.
It's a huge wild card. The whole series is a huge wild card.
He's an interdimensional cop.
Yes.
Like, and it's Owen fucking Wilson. Are you serious right now? Loki and Owen Wilson, buddy cop series where they travel between dimensions and interact with, like, multi-dimensional versions of other characters and stuff. Like, what the fuck? How are we ignoring this? Like, I'm hoping that is going to be some type of glue that pulls all of these very disparate and very seemingly completely unrelated things together. If you look at Falcon and Winter Soldier and WandaVision on paper next to each other, what? What stitches them together at all? What pull these together at all? And then you look at Thor, Love and Thunder, and something like Shang-Chi, and you're like, what the fuck do these have to do with each other? And I think that's the most terrifying as a fan, because I'm just like, what if this doesn't work out? But I'm also really interested to be like, dude, how are they going to do this?
That's the exciting piece for me, is that I know that they're going to do it
calling
justice.
A shot.
And whatever canon we're going down, this new universe that they're creating, their own spin to it, by bringing all these little elements from the comics and everything, is beautiful. Very much. I'm excited. I can't wait for the finale. It's coming up 2 days from now.
Day after tomorrow.
Day after tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so I'm super excited.
How do you watch it? So I wake up late and then go to work, and then I have to spend the whole fucking day just ignoring my phone. Like, I can't use my phone at work, but the short breaths that I do have to myself, I want to look at my phone, and then the second I do, I start seeing like WandaVision episode. I'm like, nope. And I've never spoiled anything for myself. But I think I have to wake up early and just watch it before I go to work on Friday.
I'm going to do what I always do work thing, and I got a lot of stuff going on after work, and then watch it in the evening. But the trick is avoiding your phone, because there's
I don't know if I can do that this time, just because it's such a big deal.
Yeah.
I'm tempted to wake up early, watch it, work, think about it, then watch it again.
Well,
you know what I mean? At the end of the night. And then maybe if you and I can somehow coordinate seeing each other before, like, next Wednesday, we can talk about it while it's fresh.
Yeah. We can shoot for Sunday or Monday, but I love the conversation.
Hell yeah, bro.
Always great. I'm super excited. I hope you guys are equally excited. Check out the Facebook page. Like it, follow, subscribe. You guys know the drill by now.
Hi, Steven.
And we will see you next time.
All right, cool.